to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the future.
Tonight, they're back.
Something's got to be done about your kids.
He's a complete wimp.
With no time to lose.
Hold on, buddy!
Yes! Hello? Anybody home?
Michael J. Fox
Talk about deja vu.
and Christopher Lloyd. In Back to the Future 2. An ABC premiere presentation. Back to the Future 2, next.
Hey, kid, thumb $100, will you, and help save the clock tower?
Sorry, no.
Come on, kid, that's an important historical landmark.
Look, some other time.
Lightning struck that thing 60 years ago.
Wait a minute. Cubs win World Series. Against Miami?
Yeah, it's something, huh? Who would have thought? 100 to 1 shot. I wish I could go back to the beginning of the season, put some money on the Cubs.
I just meant Miami. What did you just say?
I said I wish I could go back to the beginning of the season, put some money on the Cubbies.
Now this has an interesting feature. It has a dust jacket. Books used to have these to protect the covers. Of course, that was before they had dust repellent paper. And if you're interested in dust, we have a quaint little piece from the 1980s. It's called a dust buster.
Marty!
I can't lose.
Marty, up here!
Hey, Doc, what's going on?
Stand by, I'll park over there.
Yeah, all right. Hey, right on time.
Fine, DeLorean. I haven't seen one of those in 30 years.
Sorry, excuse me, sorry. Hey, I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
Damn.
Don't drive Trank, low-res, Gunsbone, Conroe.
2 of them?
Marchy McFly, Marchy McFly. Year 6 of Marchy McFly. Ready or not, Year 6 of Marchy McFly. I'm back, great Scott. It's year 6. 31 straight days for you. In year 6. It's Back to the Future Part 2. Every day. Gonna have a little talk of Marty and Doc. Marty and Doc. Marty and Doc. Marty and Doc. Marty and Doc.
Bing, bang, boom. Bada-beep, bop, boo, bada-beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, boop, bada-beep. You think I'd get tired of doing that by now, but every time I hit record and that part of the score comes up, it just like, it's like the Holy Spirit takes over. The Holy Spirit of Alan Silvestri takes over my body, and I can't help but make those stupid sounds to the one of the best cinema scores in history. I would say, is this the best score for a... Okay, I mean, you're going to talk about like The Godfather or Rocky, but let's say for a family comedy, is this the best non-John Williams score? Like for that type of movie? Maybe I'm classifying it too much. Because there's so many great John Williams scores, and then, I'm going back to Godfather and Rocky, those like classic movie scores that, even Pink Panther. Okay, so maybe is it my favorite? Sure. Yes, it is. But is it the best? I don't know. But it's It's pretty great, and it makes me want to go beep boop boopity boop. So I mean, that's something to be said there. Happy Saturday, everybody! It's Saturday, March 7th, which means it's the 7th day of Marchy McFly, which means for the 7th day in a row, I am here talking to you about Back to the Future Part 2. Even though in the preview at the beginning, I think it just says Back to the Future 2. That's not the name of the movie. The name of the movie is Back to the Future Part 2. That is the correct pronunciation. That is the correct way of saying it. And that is how I try to say it formally when I'm speaking to you guys, the Marchy audience. Informally when I'm just shooting the shit with my friends and we're, talking about Back to the Future, just much more casually. You could say Back to the Future 2 and leave the part out. I'll feel it, but I'll allow it. Put it that way. That clip from the beginning is from 1992 ABC Movie of the Week. Back to the Future 2. It's just, you think Robert Zemeckis would say something. Anybody over at ABC, at that time would have been Michael Eisner. Come on, like step up. It's funny. It's funny that these large companies still own these. It's on ABC, but nowadays you'd think it would be the NBC movie. Now, did NBC at this time? It still said Universal and MGM company, an RCA company. So at a certain point, it becomes NBC Universal. So this would probably have been on the NBC Movie of the Week or on Peacock. But at the time, it's an ABC movie, which is owned still by. It's already owned by Disney at that point. Still owned by Disney. It's funny. Things are owned by Disney, but nothing owns Disney. That has yet to happen. You'll say, Universal, always, it seems like there's always a larger company that owns a company. A big company, all of a sudden, boom, there's a bigger company that, some production company will own it someday. Disney is not part of the, blank company that owns Disney and other things. Disney is the company that owns other companies, and someday Netflix will be the other company. And I guess Paramount now at this point is pushing its way through. Paramount and HBO. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I feel like it's whatever it is. It's worse for the consumer. Somehow it'll be worse for us. I know it. Somehow it'll be worse for creatives. I know it. Or what it will do is it will create. What it could do is it will create a vacuum where another company comes in to fill the void. A smaller company comes in to make these larger studio quote unquote movies, much like Netflix came in 20 years ago or whatever. I'm trying to think. 20 years ago, I was renting DVDs really close, not that much longer after, a few years later. I had my first Roku and was able to stream some things on Netflix. It was a Netflix streaming box. Pretty much that's it. And Netflix had some things you could stream. And then all of a sudden now that has taken over the world. And I remember Netflix was like, there's a reason we didn't call ourselves DVDs on demand, or, they called themselves Netflix, and it worked because you ordered your movies on the internet and they came to your house. Now you watch them on the internet. What am I talking about? I don't know. It just I don't even know how I got there at all. Oh yeah, the clip at the beginning. There you go. See, it all makes Marchy sense when it comes right down to it. Tonight could have been something special. Could have been. So my parents had tickets to something at our local high school, had something called the Firefly Orchestra, and they were doing a night at the movies. And it was I guess a bunch of cinema movies. They couldn't use the tickets. And we couldn't use the tickets because my wife's back. She couldn't sit through it. So then I texted my brother, said, hey, I offered my niece, my nephew, somebody want to come with me? What I read was Harry Potter, Jaws, Rocky, Star Wars, a lot of John Williams stuff. Well, not Rocky, but there's a chance that Back to the Future score could have been played. I don't know. But it would have been really cool to have gone to see that today and then come here to talk to you about it tonight. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I'm not saying there's no music to talk about. I've talked about this music here, and I mean, the episode's still young, so we'll see. But unfortunately, that event did not happen. But you know what did happen? We got our first real glimpse at the MacGuffin of, well, I shouldn't say our first real, well, it happened when we first saw that back Blast to the Past store and we saw all the things. The almanac was there prominently displayed, but it wasn't featured. It was there with a keen eye. You could have seen it. You might not have been looking at it because you were looking at all the things. That was actually kind of a smart thing. You put this thing in there, and then but you're not looking at that. You're looking at everything else that you recognize, from the VCRs to Roger Rabbit to all these things that are from the 80s, Dustbusters. You're not looking at that almanac. And then you go back and watch it. Oh my God, the almanac was there the whole time. Because this is where we learn the MacGuffin of the movie. We don't quite get what happens and what, the possible outcome is and like a major plot point, but it's kind of the real foreshadowing starts here in this 3 minutes. But before that, we get the final moments of Griff and Griff's gang. And the first shot we see is right when Jason Scott Lee said, unless you've got power. And Griff is like, huh? Like you could almost hear the Tim Allen come out of his head. And as he realizes, wait a minute, I've got power. So before I mention that, I do love the people just walking around in the background here. And there's someone by the Cafe 80s who has an amazing, I don't know if it's a sweatshirt or a jacket, but it's got a giant smiling mouth and a tongue on it. Like the whole jacket is a mouth. And I feel like that would be something someone would wear today in 2026. Like you'd see a Timothy Chalamet show up at some award show dressed like that, and they'd be like, wow, that is a $9,000 Versace mouth jacket. I don't know. It just looks like something that I could see someone wearing. So anyway, Biff is not Biff, it's Griff. He's like, oh, wait a second, I've got power. So he goes off and goes, we don't exactly know where he goes yet, but he goes to the back of his car and he pulls out this case. And while he's doing that, Marty is on the water and he's just like staring. He sees the step, the stone where he needs to get to, and he's trying to kick the hoverboard to move. He sees them coming back. He sees them standing there. Griff opens up his case. That actually very cool, where he kind of just kicks he punches down with the case. It opens up and his very special hoverboard comes out. The special effects of the hoverboard, not great. Now it's funny because the motion is good. Like the thing, I don't know if you call that composite, where it's not actually there. It falls down and it kind of hovers and moves. And that motion looks pretty good. It's just, it doesn't look realistic. It looks like it's painted on the screen. Whereas when you see the DeLorean actually there, and it later we'll see it in this scene, it's there, but it's much stiffer. It's not smooth. So he yells at his crew to hook on, because none of them have power. They all pull the ropes, these like lines off the back of his hoverboard, which leads me back to thinking that the rope in the back of that Jeep that Marty was using is part of a sport or part of some off-roading thing that kids do with hoverboards. That is a very normal thing. A lot of people, especially who own Jeeps, have ropes so that kids can hover surf behind a car. Makes sense here. But while that makes sense, some of the physics of this entire scene doesn't quite make sense. Again, why is the hoverboard, how is it able to float? What is keeping it afloat? If it can't move, well, how can it float? Because it can definitely hover. It's hovering. So Biff is flying in with all three people. He's got a bat in his hand. He's floating right at them. At this point, if I am Marty, just goddamn jump in the water and swim. Now he does that. Obviously they get close, batter up, and Marty just jumps in the water. Thankfully, if it was like 2 feet deep, he would have shattered his ankles. Thankfully, it's deep enough that he can fall all the way in. And then they hit a curb. They hit the stone and they go careening off of their hoverboards. Now, in reality, they should go directly down and scrape up their knees, roll around, maybe get a contusion on their head. Instead, for some reason, they fly through the air. They fly up you can actually see the ropes. They fly up through the air and they go through and they shatter through this glass. They should be killed. They should be their wrists and ankles, their like veins, things should be cut, arteries, they should be dead. I'm pretty sure someone was actually injured by the glass here that fell, or one of the stuntmen was definitely injured in falling here. I mean, they hit hard and the glass falls on them and we never see them again. They're gone. They're out of the picture. And I say good riddance. Yes, I love Thomas F. Wilson, but those 3 characters with him were the 3 of the worst characters in all Back to the Future. I'm saying I'm going even with the cartoons. These 3 are the worst. You can give me some of like Biff's son in the cartoon, Biff the Fourth or Fliff. I don't know if he had a different name. Just the worst. Whereas, and I shouldn't say we're done because we see Griff in one of the cartoons. I believe we do see him again. But they fly through the courthouse. Old Biff is just like butt heads, even though he could be thinking, oh my God, my grandson is dead. Doesn't seem to be concerned about it at all. He just is like, butt heads. I do love that the hoverboard is floating a little bit above the water next to Michael J. Fox. He grabs it, gets out of the water, and he looks off in the distance. Thankfully, he's completely out of it now. Marty Jr. is completely out of it now. Like they're in the clear. And he is soaking wet. His hair is already kind of too dry. It's actually way too dry. So that when the jacket goes, drying mode on and all the wind blows and all of a sudden his hair is dry, it's because his hair was already kind of dry. Your jacket is now dry. Very cool concept, except his shirt, his pants, his underwears, his shoes. His shoes have like power laces. The batteries, are they waterproof? He could be like, his feet could be on fire right now. I don't know. He seems to be okay though. And he actually seems to be completely dry. We don't worry about his pants anymore, but his pants should be a goddamn mess. But they're not, or at least it doesn't bother him. So then he goes to give the hoverboard back to the little girl, and that little girl's like, you can keep it. I'm a thief. I just stole this pit bull from, is it Pitbull, right? From Biff. And the other girl is drinking a Slurpee with a complete, like, it is a giant ceramic cup that says Slurpee. And for some reason, I just love that. And then we get kind of a callback to the first movie, another callback to the first movie, I should say, that kind of disturbs me because it seems like all the work that this woman did 30 years ago to save the clock tower did nothing. They kept the clock tower, they kept the courthouse, but the clock tower is still a mess. Like, as we said, they kept it exactly the way it got struck by lightning in 1955, including where Doc fell almost off the edge there. And they still need to save it. Someone is still trying to figure out how to save it. And what did he say? He asked for $100. He gives a quarter in the first movie. I think this guy asked for $100. He's like, save the clock tower. He kept saying, like, come on, this is a historic thing. He talks about lightning striking. Now this guy, they didn't get an old guy to play this. They put a dude in old makeup. I don't know why. He actually wasn't another scene with Doc that got cut, but this is Charles Fleischer. Charles Fleischer, of course, is the voice of, bringing it right back to Roger Rabbit. Roger Rabbit is, we see the doll in Back to the Future 2. I mean, we see the doll in the Blast from the Past store. We're in Back to the Future 2. I know that already. And of course, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Roger Rabbit, I feel like, is very well appreciated and is kind of a beloved movie now, but I feel like it never quite blew up to what they wanted it to be. I read the original book. It wasn't called Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Original book was called Who Censored Roger Rabbit, and I read that book. It came out in 1981. It was definitely not quite as family friendly as they turned the movie into. And that was followed by another book called Who Plugged Roger Rabbit. Now, wait a second. Who plugged? It's a humorous mystery novel. So they have Who Censored Roger Rabbit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was the novelization of the film, and then Who Plugged Roger Rabbit. That's a 1991 novel. So it came back after. It says the book is inconsistent with, so is neither a sequel nor prequel to Who Censored Roger Rabbit. I don't know. It's the same guy who whacked Roger Rabbit. He came back with another book. Then he came back with Jessica Rabbit, Serious Business. That was in 2022. Wait, this guy's still making books to this day about Roger. I know this isn't a Roger Rabbit. He's 85 and he has a bunch of Roger Rabbit books. Who Censored, Who Plugged, and Who Whacked. Oh my God. Do I want to read all these? Do I want to do that to myself? Oh, The Road to Toontown. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, I'm going to kind of put a little bookmark here and maybe come back to this someday. Interesting. Has nothing to do with this movie except for the fact that this actor is the guy who sang, actually this guy has a lot to blame with what happens back in 1985 and back in 1955. And so in a weird way, this guy should, it's kind of crazy, right? No, I will make sense out of this because this guy changes the past. It hasn't happened yet, even though it has, because it's the past. It hasn't happened in this timeline. So he is changing the past in the next 30 seconds or so because Marty sees that the Cubbies won the World Series in 2015, which in actuality, didn't they win it they won it around that time, 2014, 2016, something like that. And they beat Miami, which wasn't a team at the time, but now is. It was the Florida Marlins and now the Miami Marlins. Am I correct? Even though they're in the same league, so they couldn't play each other in the World Series. Still kind of a fun little thing. And the guy's like, boy, I wish, I bet at the beginning, I wish I could go back and put a bet on the Cubbies. He's like, what did you say? He's like, I wish I could go back and bet money on the Cubbies. He's like, wait a second. And that's when he goes and grabs the Gray's Sports Almanac from the store that shows every sport win, complete sports statistics. Now, here's the thing. It's 50 years of complete sports statistics, and it's the size of a magazine. It should be the size of a goddamn almanac or a dictionary or something. Leonard Maltin has a book about movies that I don't even know if it covered 50 years when it first came out. It's thicker than this. This should not be this thin, but I guess it feeds into how it comes into play later in the where it's mistaken for a magazine. But the fact that they call this an almanac and it's just a magazine is disturbing. But Marty picks up the magazine. It's funny. The woman talks about dust-proof paper, and if you're into dust, you can get something called the Dust Buster. Now, I just noticed in the background there's a poster for something called the Instant Infant. I hope that's supposed to be a toy, a doll, a nostalgic doll, and not something from the future. But that's pretty creepy right there. But Marty, buys the almanac with what money? Now, I guess Marty had some money. Does he ever give the 50 back to Doc? Because we didn't see him pay for that Pepsi, so he still has a 50 from Doc. It doesn't have to be future money. It could be from the past. He's from the past. He could have money from 1985. That's not a big deal in 2015. It shouldn't be, as long as it would have been funny if he took out cash and they go, whoa, we don't use cash anymore. We haven't used cash in 15 years. Like that could have been something and should have been something that Doc did. Doc should have given him a card, said, he used this card to buy your Pepsi. I put $50 on it. Use it to buy Pepsi. I put 50 credits on it. Something, we don't use paper money anymore. That would have been a fun little thing to do, even though, again, I'm just trying to improve things, I guess. Call them as I see them. But he takes the thing out of the bag and looks at it. It's like, I can't lose. And in the background, this is what I was talking about with the DeLorean. We see the DeLorean float into the picture, and we see Christopher Lloyd's in it. And he's like, Marty. And it kind of just stops. Like it's really frozen, like it's being held. It's not moving enough that you think it's floating and hovering. Whereas when you see the Pitbull hoverboard before, it's like it kind of has a little sway to it. There's no sway at all with this. But he's like, hey, Marty, I'm going to pull over right there. They just wanted to show this. And then we get a much more digital shot of the, it doesn't look like the DeLorean's there. But they screw up. They should do all of this in public instead of in the alley. And Biff comes out. He's like, flying DeLorean? I haven't seen one of these in 30 years. And then the other Marty comes out of the Cafe 80s, and he's like, 2 Martys? 2 of them? And then we get one little shot of Einstein, and Doc says he left him in a suspended animation kennel. So the idea is, I guess you put a dog in a kennel, and you could leave him for years. And then, so Doc, all the time he was here, he put Einstein in suspended animation. So Einstein just kind of froze. Oh, I don't know if I like that. I feel like that's sort of dog abuse. I feel like it's animal abuse. I never really thought about it till right now, but that is exactly where this clip ends. But now things are starting to pick up because we have Biff noticing this time machine, noticing this flying DeLorean, noticing 2 Martys. What the hell is going on here? And now we have Marty thinking, oh, I can go back into the past and use this book to bet and make lots of money. And that is where trouble will start brewing.
Since I can turn back time, I think I know a way to bet on sports from my time that have yet to be played. I'm not sure that this is a moral use of time, but then again I do not think I did a crime. I'll use this almanac to make a surefire buck, and no one will know that I'm lying about my luck. I really didn't think it through, Doc. That's not what time travel is for. I guess we'll leave it here. But then Biff steals the time machine, takes it from 2015, took it back, almanac, made himself rich. Go back to 85, and now my dad's not alive. Biff killed him and married my mom. Geez, you know what? This is actually a much darker storyline with murder and corruption. In the last movie, the worst thing that happened was I almost kissed my mom. But this is pretty heavy.
Yeah, I know that the focus really is mainly on that 3 minutes and 20 seconds, but we've all seen the movie. We've all seen the movie multiple times. And when you really think about the things that happen in this movie, it is a much, much darker film than the first one. Like the outcome and how Biff turns in from a bully to an out-and-out villain. Now, okay, we can say in the last movie, he goes from being a bully to an absolute, sexual criminal. But I mean, you can pretty much say someone who is just abusive, or he was going to be if George didn't come and save the day. So he's definitely somewhat of a criminal already. He could be arrested for what he did, but it goes what happens in this movie is definitely much darker. And I kind of can't wait to get there because we're still in 2015 here. And that is where most of this movie, that's when people think Back to the Future 2, they mostly focus on the 2015 segment. But I will tell you that this movie only gets better once you leave the 2015 segment. Yes, a lot of this stuff is clunky. And I think all the stuff that I don't like about this movie is actually here. Because once we go back to 1985 and go to 1955, it kind of picks up and kind of gets, dare I say, awesome? I always talk about this being my least favorite of the three over the years. At least these last few years, I realized I think I liked 3 more than 2, and obviously 1 is untouchable. But it might just be the 2015 clunkiness, and some of the plot clunkiness, but it gets us to this 1985 version that then gets us to 1955 stuff, and that is really where the movie shines. However you feel about it, that is definitely like we're getting my least favorite stuff out of the way first. Let's put it that way. So I am really looking forward to later on this month, and I hope you are too. But I don't want to completely just gloss over these minutes. I'm going to talk about every single minute of this movie, and we will be back tomorrow doing this all over again. We still have quite a while in 2015. We're not done yet, but we're starting to see, wait a second, there's something else happening here. Yes, they saved Marty Jr., but why are we seeing this almanac, and what's going to happen now that Biff seems to recognize this DeLorean from 30 years ago? He. We'll find out a little more tomorrow, my friends. But until then, I hope you'll be back then. But until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. The Facebook page, of course, is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel, of course, is Fans Not Experts. That's because the website where every single friggin' podcast I do can be found at fansnotexperts.com. That is it. I am done. By the way, that Cher song is friggin' fantastic. I was watching the video. Yes, everyone loves the video of like her outfit and the thong and her ass tats. But the song itself is pretty spectacular. And the sailors in that video are so happy to be in that video. They are having the time of their lives. And why wouldn't they? Cher is smoking hot in that video, and she's dancing around with her ass hanging out, singing a pop song that is still beloved today. My goodness, if I'd join the Navy if I wasn't a coward, and if it gave me a chance to be in a Cher video. I mean, what's not to love? And I don't know if I did it justice, but I was like, give me songs. I almost was like, I can't think. I want to put a song in. I haven't done a song yet. I got to do something. And I start looking up songs with time. I was like, wait a second. Wait 1 second. I could do something with that. Typity, record. And boom, here we are. And I literally probably recorded that a half hour ago. And I was like, that's why this video, I'm talking to you now. It's 10:45 p.m. So this might be the latest episode I've done so far, but I'm done now. So I'm going to have it out to you in just a few minutes. Just hold on. Here it comes. The episode's coming soon. Well, it's already out to you now. Look, it happened. And I will be back tomorrow. But until then, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. And here is my theme song.
This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.